Welcome to our first ever virtual Purim Pyjama party. My name is Toby, and this is my amazing wife, Natalie.
Hi everyone, I hope you're ready for a fun night celebrating Purim. We are so excited that you decided to join us.
I remember as a young boy dressing up as a king and looking forward to eating lots of Hamentashen, a yummy pastry filled with jelly. Typically for Purim, we all dress up in costumes, but since we're all virtual this year, why not have a virtual pajama party? We hope you're in your favorite PJs.
We have a fun craft for you tonight. We'll be able to use our craft later during the telling of the Purim story. Are you excited for our craft tonight? I hope so. Let's jump right in. I would like to welcome Elizabetta and our oldest daughter, Sophia, who will be walking us through a wonderful craft. Hi, Sophia and Elizabetta.
Hi.
Thank you so much, Toby and Natalie. All right, as is the tradition for Purim, now we're going to have some fun. Isn't that right, Soph?
Yes.
And of course, that's just the number one rule for Purim, right? Virtual or not, pandemic or not, we're gonna have some fun. So this year, instead of just saying boo every time Haman's name is mentioned, we're instead going to make Hamentashen shakers! So Sophia, have you ever made Hamentashen before?
No.
No? Well, now you're going to know how to make the real thing. And don't worry, it's a piece of cake, or rather, a piece of Hamentashen. First, before we get into our actual craft, I just wanted to ask, why do we say boo every time Haman's name is mentioned? Sophia, do you have any ideas?
Because he almost killed Mordechai and the Jewish people.
Yes, that's a very good response. It is really important that we understand from the get-go that when we say boo, we're not making fun of somebody else or their name. And we are not saying this in order to be mean or impolite either. In fact, we should never do that, even to the people that don't like us, right? And you know, the Bible also never says that we are allowed to do this. Instead, we should ask God to help us follow what Yeshua says about our enemies. Sophia, do you remember what Yeshua said about our enemies?
Love your enemies.
Exactly. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Well, we're actually going to hear more teaching on this later in our program. But for now, are you ready to make some Hamentashen shakers?
No!
All right, so to get started, you will need any size of a paper plate. Really, it can be blank if you want to decorate it, and you have to decorate it beforehand.
Or with balloons.
Or with balloons if you don't want to decorate and are lazy like me. So you can get it already decorated or decorate it yourself. Next, you will need some small hard item that will just make a really loud noise. So here I have dry, hard beans, not the ones from a can. Other things that you could use, you could do whole coffee beans, you could do trail mix. Just make sure to take out the chocolate pieces because that will melt. You could do nuts, rice, make sure it's uncooked, Cheerios, buttons, or even just little small bells. Get creative. Next, I would choose to go with a hot glue gun. This is really your best option for the bigger plates especially, or really for any plates. You could also use tape, but it just won't hold as well. Hot glue gun works the best. And parents, please be the one to use this hot glue gun and not your child. Lastly, coloring pencils, crayons, stickers for decorating. And that's all. Let's get started. Great. All right. For Sophia, we're actually going to use the already decorated smaller plate. And what you want to do is actually turn it face down. Yeah, and I'm going to let you do it, Sophia. So turn it face down. And what you want to do is actually kind of, just to get started, is push these, the way the plate comes up, like just push them down. Yeah, like that. Just push them down so that makes it easier to work with. And we're going to be doing some folding next. So
what you're going to do is you're going to fold 3 sides, like
this. Yes, exactly. We're gonna make folds, yes. And even if it breaks a little, it's okay. Just make sure we wanna like even it out. So take from the corners, go to the center, and then fold it. And the same on that side. So this one you wanna meet in this. This one's a little harder, this last fold, because you're gonna have to bend the actual corners a little bit. You wanna go to the center. So that way, it actually is starting to look like a Hamentashen. Okay, so we kind of want the end product like that. So now we're gonna lift this flap up. We're going to hot glue gun or tape this down if it'll hold. I'm gonna use hot glue. Bigger plate definitely needs to be hot glued, but you can try tape or you might even be successful with regular glue. I'm not so sure, that might take a while to dry. And if you want to go ahead while you're at it, fold the end here so that nothing comes out, nothing falls out.
Yeah, hot glue.
Yeah.
Now can we...
So if you happen to hot glue the bottom, like this side, just pop it and put your hand in there.
Can I put my beads in?
Yeah, and go ahead and fill up on your beans. I'm going to hot glue this piece. This one might need a little bit more.
I hope they don't get stuck on the bottom, because...
They won't get stuck because the hot glue is already dry.
How can they dry so quick?
Yeah.
I'm trying to not put some. Is this good? I don't want to put too much.
Yeah, so for the little ones, you don't want to put too many beans, because then they'll just be stuck. So I'm going to put the beans right there.
Can I patch this hole up like this? No, that.
Yeah, I'll help you in a second. So that should be enough. It'll make a loud noise. I could put more, but...
Yeah, mine's is perfect. Mine's is perfect.
All right, that's what it's gonna look like.
I'm done with mine.
And then we just fold it over and hot glue the ends. I'm running out here. If you guys don't want to do the actual Hamentashen, if it's a little too difficult, you could just fold the paper plate in half. So fold it, fill it in, and then just staple it down or hot glue it again. So at this point I have these sticking out. You just want to fold them down. Just fold them, tape them, or glue them down, and they should be fine. You just don't want any holes because the beans will escape. Yeah.
Can you please do that? Beads are falling out from here.
Do it in the corner there. I can also hot glue it for you.
Whoa.
Oh, that's good.
The hot glue.
Yeah, I got some hot glue string on you. And voila, your final product.
Thank you for joining us. Happy Purim!
Hey Ellie, how are you today? Do you know what holiday is coming up?
Purim!
Well, here in Israel, we're so excited to celebrate Purim, and it's definitely one of the best holidays of the whole year. What are some things that we get to do at Purim that everyone loves to do?
Dress up!
Dress up. Oh yes. What are some things that you have dressed up as?
Astronaut, policeman, and soldier.
And a soldier. Wow. How about girls? Have you seen girls dress up in interesting costumes?
Wonder Woman, Cinderella, and Doctor.
Doctors. Well, everyone dresses up, even adults, and none of it is scary. It's so much fun. What is the Hebrew word for costume?
Tachposot.
Tachposot. That's for costumes. That's a hard word to say. Can you try? Tachposot. Well, have you ever wondered why we dress up at Purim? Well, a long time ago, the Jewish people in Europe wanted to celebrate Purim even more. And so they decided to make the holiday even more special because it was such a miracle that they were saved. They decided to dress up in costumes. They knew that it wasn't a holiday like Hanukkah or Passover where the miracle was so obvious how the Lord saved them. Instead, they knew that Queen Esther, who was Jewish, she had kept it a secret. She went before the king and she had hidden the fact that she was Jewish. And because of that, she was able to save her people from death. And so we also see that the name of God was not mentioned in the book of Esther. But God was still there. He wasn't hidden. He was still there and he saved the people. So just like Queen Esther had hidden her Jewishness and the name of God was also hidden, we hide ourselves in the costume and to be able to celebrate even more. What was that word for a costume?
Tachposot.
Yes, tachposot. And another wonderful Purim treat is a Hamentashen.
Hamen what?
Hamentashen. It's a Yiddish word. Yiddish is the old Jewish language of Europe. Well, the Hamentashen means Haman's pockets, and he used to stuff money into his pockets that he got from the king. Well, again, we fill these Hamentashen with chocolate or apricot or poppy, and inside the filling is hidden, just like we've hidden ourselves in our costume. And we eat these delicious Hamentashen and we have so much fun. But in Israel, what do we call a Hamentashen?
Oznei Aman.
Oznei Haman. What does that mean?
Haman's ears.
Haman's ears. Well, once again, we get to celebrate and dress up and do silly things at Purim. Well, I don't know about you, but I want to eat these Hamentashen, don't you?
Right.
Which one's your favorite?
Chocolate.
Of course, chocolate. Well, we just made some crafts, didn't we? We made a grogger. Grogger is another Yiddish word. And in Hebrew, what is this word?
Ashan.
Ashan. What does that mean?
Loud.
Loudness, noise. We're supposed to make so much noise when we retell the Purim story, which we'll do next. We need to drown out the name of the bad guy, which is Haman, and make so much noise that we can't hear him in the story. And then we're supposed to say hooray when we hear the good guys. Well, we have definitely learned a lot, haven't we, about Purim. We've learned Hebrew words, we've learned Yiddish words, we've learned the tradition, and believe me, please go out and either buy or make your Hamentashen, your Oznei Haman. Well, have fun. See you soon. And enjoy Purim. What are you going to dress up as? Have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Chag Sameach, thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Deirdre, and I have some little helpers here with me. This is Violet, and this is Daisy.
Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach.
Tonight we are going to read the story of Esther, a Purim tale, retold by Eric A. Kimmel and illustrated by Jill Weber and published by Holiday House Publishing. Tonight my helpers are going to guide us as we read the story with the oohs and ahs when we say the name Esther, and the cheering when we say Mordechai, and the boos when we say Haman. So we got this, girls? When we hear Esther, what do we say?
Oohs and ahs.
Oohs and ahs. And when we hear Mordechai, what do?
We say yay.
Yay, Mordecai! And when we hear Haman, what do?
Boo.
We say boo. All right, so let's get started. The story of Esther, a Purim tale. Now, if you forget to do it, don't worry, I'm going to let you know. And Violet and Daisy, I'm going to remind them, and they're going to let you know too. It happened in the days of Ahasuerus, king of Persia, who ruled from India to the Ethiopian highlands. One night, the king held a banquet in his palace in the capital city of Shushan. The noble lords and ladies of Persia all attended, except one. "Where's Vashti?" Ahasuerus asked. He sent a messenger with an order for the queen to come to the banquet at once. The messenger returned without her, saying, "The queen is ill. She refuses to come." "How dare she refuse the king's command?" Ahasuerus shouted. "Vashti is unworthy to be queen. She will be queen no more. The king sent Vashti away in disgrace. Months passed. King Ahasuerus decided to marry again, and he summoned all the maidens in the land of Persia to the city of Shushan. One would be chosen to become his queen. Now at this time, there was a man named Mordechai living in the city of Shushan, and he was a Hebrew, descended from those carried off as captive years ago when the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar burned the city of Jerusalem and destroyed the holy temple. Mordechai, yay! Had a niece, Hadassah. You guys can say oohs and ahs at Hadassah as well as Esther. So we go ooh, ah. The Persians called her Esther, the morning star, for in their eyes she was as beautiful as the queen of heaven. Mordecai brought Esther to the king's palace. She did not want to go. What if the king commands me to do something against my religion? She asked her uncle. If that happens, you must refuse, Mordecai said. Yay! However, it may not come to that. The Persians do not pray to idols. King Ahasuerus has always allowed us to worship in our own way. Do your best to serve him. If he asks about your people and your religion, tell the truth. But if he does not ask, there is no need to speak of it. Above all, do not be afraid. Trust God to protect you and to help you to find favor in the king's eyes. Esther, entered the palace, and Mordecai, waited in the courtyard. He came there every day, asking those who passed through the gates about Esther and how she fared. One day, while sitting by the gate, he overheard two royal guards talking. They spoke openly, thinking that Mordecai, a Hebrew, would not know what they were saying. However, Mordecai, understood Persian. And he listened as the guards plotted to murder the king. Mordecai, revealed the plot to the king's officers. The treacherous guards were arrested. The officers thanked Mordecai for saving the king's life. Meanwhile, inside the palace, the maidens prepared themselves to meet the king. Each strove to become the most beautiful. They bathed in milk and perfumed themselves with costly scents. They dressed in exquisite gowns and put on priceless jewelry. They darkened their eyelids with kohl and reddened their lips with cinnabar. Esther, added but a touch of color to her face. Her only jewelry was a pair of gold earrings. She dressed in a simple gown of Egyptian linen, while the other maidens piled their hair into towering structures of netting and wires. Esther, combed her hair and tied it with a cord of white wool. The other maidens laughed to see her dressed so simply, but King Ahasuerus did not laugh when Esther, came before him. Esther's natural beauty outshone the others, as the full moon outshines the stars and the planets. When the king spoke to her, she answered with such wit that he thought, "She is 1 in 10,000, and I am a fool if I do not make this girl my queen." King Ahasuerus announced his choice. Esther, became his bride and took Vashti's place as queen of all Persia. Soon after these events, the king's chief minister, Haman, the son of Hamentashen, came riding towards the palace gate. His servants cried, "Bow down to Haman! Boo! Bow to the living God!" The people in the street rushed to throw themselves on the ground. Only one remained standing. Mordechai, yay! Esther's, uncle. Haman's, guards tried to force him to his knees. Mordechai, yay! Was stronger than they were. He threw them aside as if they were toys. "Why won't you bow to me?" the king's minister, Haman, asked. "I will gladly bow to you as the king's minister," Mordechai, said. "But I will never bow to you as God. There is only one God who made heaven and earth. That God alone do I worship." Haman's anger flared. He vowed to take revenge on Mordechai, his family, and his entire people. That evening, Haman, whispered to King Ahasuerus, "Are you aware that there are people living in your land who ignore your laws and insult your officials? They call themselves Hebrews, for it is said their ancestors came from the other side of the great river. They cannot be trusted. It is best to get rid of them now, everyone, lest they rise up in time of war and join your enemies." "Do as you think best," King Ahasuerus said, handing Haman his signet ring engraved with the royal seal. Haman, Haman wrote out a proclamation and stamped it with the king's own seal. He sent copies to all the governors and the officials in every corner of the land, telling them that on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is called Adar, every Hebrew within their walls, gates, and borders was to be killed. Neither the old nor the young was to be spared. The proclamation puzzled the people of Shushan. Why does the king hate the Hebrews, they wondered. They have lived among us for years. They have harmed no one. They are our friends and neighbors. But a proclamation stamped with the king's seal was law. No one could question it. Mordechai, yay! Tore his clothes. He poured ashes on his head, dressed in rags, and he went to sit by the palace gate. Esther's, servants noticed him there and informed the queen. She came out to speak with her uncle, Mordechai. Yay! Read Haman's proclamation to her. "You must go to the king, beg him to spare the lives of our people." "I cannot," Esther, said. "No one, not even the queen, may approach the king without permission. I cannot go unless he summons me. It is death to do so." Mordechai, answered, "Do you think you will be safe in your palace while your people perish? I believe that God will save us. If not through you, then surely through someone else. I will do what you ask," said Esther. "Have our people pray for me. I will go to the king, even if it means my death." Esther, dressed in her finest robes, with the royal crown on her head, she went to stand silently at the entrance to the king's throne room. The king noticed Esther, Standing in the doorway, he smiled and pointed his scepter toward her, inviting her to enter. Esther bowed, then touched the scepter with her fingertip. "What may I do for you, my queen?" King Ahasuerus said. "Ask, and you will receive, even if it were half my realm. I desire only your happiness." Esther replied, "I know the cares of ruling are heavy. I have arranged a feast to gladden your heart. Please come to my chamber tomorrow night. Bring your minister Haman with you." Haman's boo! Pride swelled like never before. He boasted to his wife, "The queen has invited me to a private feast with the king. Next to King Ahasuerus, I am the greatest in the land. Yet my joy turns bitter when I see that rascal Mordechai, yay! Sitting by the palace gate." "Rid yourself of him," Haman's wife urged. "Build a gallows 100 feet high. When you dine with the king tonight, ask permission to hang Mordechai." Ooh, yay! Kind of hard to say yay at that point, right? "An excellent idea," said Haman. Boo! He ordered his servants to build the gallows. He looked forward to seeing his enemy Mordechai, yay! Swinging high above the roofs of Shushan. That night, King Ahasuerus could not sleep. He summoned his scribes to read to him from the royal chronicles. The scribes read how Mordechai, that's right, yay, the Hebrew, warned the king of the guard's treachery. "This man saved my life," said King Ahasuerus. "How was he rewarded?" "No reward was ever given," the scribes answered. "This cannot be," said the king. "A man who saves the king's life must be rewarded. Send for my minister Haman." Boo! When Haman, arrived, King Ahasuerus asked him, "What should be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor?" Haman, flushed with pride, he thought the king wanted to honor him. "Your Majesty," he began, "this man must be dressed in a royal robe with a royal crown on his head. He must be mounted on the finest horse in your stables. Your most important minister should lead him through the city, crying out so all may hear, 'Behold, the man whom the king wishes to honor.'" "Excellent," King Ahasuerus exclaimed. "Do this for Mordechai, the man who sits at the palace gates. You yourself shall lead him." So Mordechai, yay, was dressed in a royal robe. A golden crown was placed upon his head. He was mounted on a white horse from the royal stables. Haman, boo! The king's minister led him through the streets of Shushan, crying out, "Behold the man who the king wishes to honor." Haman's, boo! Hatred for Mordechai, yay! And his people knew no bounds. At the same time, when the people of Shushan saw Mordechai, yay! Raised up and Haman, brought low, they began to wonder if Haman might be less powerful than he claimed. Haman, boo! Not yay, boo! And King Ahasuerus attended Esther's banquet the following night. Haman, boo! Practiced the words he meant to say. When the king was merriest, he intended to ask permission to hang Mordechai. Now we say yay. But as he started to speak, King Ahasuerus turned to Esther. My beloved queen, he began. Thank you for this fine feast. I have never enjoyed myself as I have tonight. Let me grant you a gift. Ask whatever you desire. Esther, threw herself at the king's feet. Trembling, she grasped his hand and begged, my lord and husband, spare my life. Spare the lives of my uncle Mordechai. Yay! And my people. Do not allow our enemies to destroy us. Who threatens my beloved queen? Who would kill my loyal friend Mordechai? Yay! King Ahasuerus shouted. Esther, pointed to Haman. Boo! That man Haman, boo! Your minister, she thrust a copy of Haman's proclamation into his hands. King Ahasuerus read it with growing rage. How dare you? He shrieked at Haman. Boo! This proclamation is forgery. You misused the power I gave you. In terror, Haman, boo! Clasped Esther's feet. Oh, queen, have mercy, spare my life. King Ahasuerus kicked him away. How dare you touch the queen? Away with this wretch. Hang him from the gallows out there. Hang his whole family with him. And so, the end. That Haman, boo, prepared for Mordecai, yay, became his own. King Ahasuerus canceled Haman's boo proclamation, decreeing instead that Mordecai, yay, and his people should be honored and protected. Furthermore, from that time forth, the 13th day of Adar would be a celebration for the Hebrews and their neighbors as well. So it is to this day. The 13th day of Adar is a time of joy and merriment. And because Haman threw dice to choose the day of destruction, the holiday is named after the Persian word for dice, pur. That is why we call it Purim. Hag Purim Sameach!
Wow, thank you, Deirdre, for telling the Purim story. The story of Purim isn't just a fairy tale, it really happened. And there are some wonderful lessons we can learn from Esther and all those in the Purim story. To teach us some of those lessons, we are bringing back Derek. Shalom, Derek!
Hi, everyone. Happy Purim. I hope you're enjoying the craft and the stories and relaxing in your pajamas. I know I am. You know, Purim is such a cool holiday because we get to wear fun costumes and eat delicious treats. You know, Hamentashen, which are traditional Purim cookies, are some of my favorites. But what I love most about Purim is the Purim Spiel, reading and remembering the true story of Queen Esther and how God saved the people of Israel from being wiped out. You know, this really happened, and it's so valuable to understand. The Jewish people had a serious shock. Because of the evil Haman's wicked plan, all of a sudden their lives were in danger, and just because they were Jewish. You may know that God loves the whole world and every single person in it. And that's why it's wrong to treat people badly because of where they're from or what they look like. How can we hate who God loves? Of course we can. But as you just heard in the story time, Israel was saved. Haman, boo, was defeated. Mordechai, yay, Esther's uncle, was greatly honored by the king. And Esther herself, went down in history as a hero for her people. By the way, save your booing for Haman only. We don't want to do that to anyone else. But for Haman, boo away. In the Bible, in Esther 8:16, it says, "For the Jews there was light and gladness and joy and honor." What a difference! They went from being in serious danger to celebrating. Of course, for anyone who knows the Bible, this shouldn't be a surprise. God has always promised to forever protect the people of Israel. After all, if the Jewish people were to have been wiped out, God's promised Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus, could have never been born. Speaking of Yeshua, did you know that he celebrated Purim too? Of course he did. He was Jewish, of the people of Israel, so celebrating Purim meant celebrating with his people. In the Bible, in John chapter 5, Yeshua was in Jerusalem for a festival. It was there that he healed a man who couldn't walk, and where he told people that he was, in fact, the Son of God. Did you know that the book of Esther in the Bible contains no direct mention of God at all? I've checked, it's not there. Weird, right? But there is no doubt at all that his invisible hand was orchestrating all of the events to raise up Esther as queen in order to save his people. How amazing! Our God is working for our good, whether we see it or not. He's king forever, and he wants you to know how much he loves you. The story of Esther and God saving his people is just one example that shows God's love. He sent Yeshua to live a perfect life, to die and come back from the dead so that you and I can be forgiven and made clean and new, and you can have a real relationship with God forever and ever if you put your trust in him. Yeshua gave his life so that you can have life forever with him. That's the best news you can ever hear. Even if you've never done it before, you can talk to God by praying. I promise he hears you. He wants to show you great and wonderful things because he loves you so much. See you later, and happy Purim.
We had so much fun today. Our whole family loves Purim and the telling of the story of Esther. Thank you to everyone who has participated. Rachel and Ellie, Deirdre and Derek, Elizabetta and Sophia.
If you would like to upload a photo or video of your craft, upload it by clicking the link below this screen or clicking the link in the chat. If uploading a video, make sure to say boo while you shake your noisemaker. Boo!
We would love to see your final creations and share them on our social media. Be sure to find and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see if your artwork is shared. Happy Purim, everyone!